So this is something that I had been wanting to ask you. What are the major differences in the education system of the US and India? What's something that we could probably learn from the American education system or vice versa? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think they seem to be set up almost exactly opposed to each other.
Okay.
And so my experience in the Indian culture, is it's about absorbing and recalling information,
Right.
right? Um, and we can talk later about like my concerns about that because man, as like Chat GPT gets really good at that, like how
Sure.
much do we need an education system, right? When we've
Right.
got that ability. But in in my education system, man, that I always refer to different types of learning as muscles. That's a muscle we don't work out.
Right.
And so you see a lot of people get into med school, get into programming languages and stuff, and they struggle. We have this thing. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I don't know if you've ever seen
Right.
like the fire hoses that we have in the U.S. that are like so much water. And it's like if you try to put that in your mouth and just your mouth, you can't drink it fast enough,
Sure.
right? And it just is washing over you. And so that's the idea of like med school is really hard because as Americans, we weren't taught to absorb this much information and
Right,
be able to
because the
recall.
only sorry to cut you short. The only reason that I asked you is because in India we believe that the Indian education system is more theoretical, less practical.
Mhm.
Vis-a-vis in the US, it's I won't say a balance, but there's more practical and less theory. Is that correct?
Definitely. So what do like right? It's not like we just go to school and do nothing, right? So we're not doing this. So what are we doing? And so in that case, we're more on the side of critical thinking, problem solving, right? And so to give you an idea, when one of those things we struggle with here in the school because we do more Western concepts, and you'll understand what that means in a minute, but that each thing I teach you, I don't need you to memorize that thing.
Right.
I need you to understand this thing so that it's another tool that you have for the rest of your life that you can use. It's another concept that you can apply to different situations. And we want to both teach you how this concept works and when and how to apply it, right? And so
Right.
it's not about, teach me what a hammer is and I will learn all the facts about a hammer. It's like, no, get it in your hands and swing it, right? And see
Sure.
how it works. And oh, look, the back, you can pull nails out, see how that works. That's kind of
Sure.
how we think. And so you'll notice when you're talking to someone from the West and from a Western education system, we use lots of examples, right? Because if I give you a theoretical thing and I don't care that you memorize what I've said, and I really just want you to understand it, I
Sure.
need you to see how this gets applied in different ways, right? And so we do the same thing in our classrooms. We use a lot of what we call CCQs, which is comprehension checking questions, right?
Right.
Because we want to make sure that you understand what I just said. And let me give you a big thing that kind of makes people's brains melt on both sides, which is here in India, a lot of times, if you write down the right answer, but you didn't word it exactly the way that it was supposed to be worded,
Yeah.
they'll count it wrong, right?
They'll
Well,
probably cut some marks or something. I mean, deduct a few marks or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
so in my system, if you write it exactly the way that it was in the book, they'll mark it wrong because they will say, you memorize this, you don't understand it.
Okay.
Because if you understand it, it should
You
be
have
much
a different
easier.
perspective to it, right? In your own
Yeah,
way.
because if I say, the way that we use a hammer, basically there's one end and it's big and it's flat, and we use that to pound the nails. You have the other side has these little prongs, and we use those, and you can hook a nail in it and pull it out. So that shows I know how to use a hammer. But if I just memorize text about a hammer, maybe I know how to use a hammer, maybe I don't, right? Maybe I just memorize some text.
Right.
And so that's why they will not allow you to give an exact thing. They want you to put it in your own words to show me, right? That's why in our education, there's a lot of essay writing.
Right.
Show me you understand. Show me, apply this to a new situation, apply this in a different way.
Sure.
And so that's the idea. And we use that a lot because, we think of language learning as very different from, maths, because maths you can just learn it, right? You can sit in the back of the class and you can learn it.
Sure.
Whereas language is a lot more like learning a sport. And I can sit here and explain to you how to bowl a Yorker that will get even Virat Kohli to take his wicket. But here's the thing. If you've never held a ball in your hand,
Right.
you're still going to throw like it's your first time, right?
Sure.
You haven't learned to do it. And so there's so much value in just, okay, let me give you a little bit and now go bowl. Go bowl, right? I'm not going to get into advanced stuff when you haven't even applied and practiced
No,
this
makes sense.
this
Right.
beginning stuff. And so that's kind of that difference in the way that the education systems work. And so I think it's why you see a lot of people from Western education systems in these roles that require a lot of critical thinking and problem solving. And it's also why when I go to the doctor in the US, most of my doctors are from China and India, right? Because there's so much recall, and we want our doctors to know what they're doing, right? And we don't want them to have to go ask ChatGPT, gosh, I don't know what's going on, right? We want them to know. And so it turns out that the muscles that people work here are really effective in certain areas, and the muscles that the education system I came from are effective in different areas. And the difficulty, right, just like an American trying to get into do med school, is when you cross over into a different discipline. It's not that it's impossible, but it's going to be really hard. You're going to be sore that next day because that's a muscle you haven't ever worked out. It may be a muscle you didn't realize existed. And I deal with a lot of people, especially with IELTS, who are working on making that crossover. And so we talk a lot about that. And sometimes their mind gets blown, of, wait, I have to put my own thoughts in. It's like, yeah, you're not going to survive, giving answers back. You have to give original thoughts. And so
हाय एवरीवन, अगर आप यहाँ तक पहुँच गए तो आई एम श्योर आपने पूरा एपिसोड देख लिया होगा. फॉर मोर सच कंटेंट प्लीज मेक श्योर टू लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू द मेंटालिटी. सी यू सून. थैंक यू.